Last week, more than 832,000 doses of vaccine were administered across the country, taking our total now to more than 5 million doses of vaccine administered. It took 47 days to get to our first million doses of vaccine administered and just 9 days to get to our most recent million doses of vaccine administered. For our next million, despite having a national public holiday and additional weekends, we'll nonetheless be focused on continuing to do what we can to increase the speed of the rate of vaccination. Within Victoria last week, 327,538 doses of vaccine were administered through a combination of Commonwealth and state clinics, taking the total now administered in Victoria to 1,462,197 doses of vaccine administered. Of note, that includes 59% of those aged 70 and over having now received at least one dose of vaccine, and 43% of those aged 50 or over having received at least one dose of vaccine. Apart from supporting existing vaccination sites, our focus at the moment is continuing to increase the rate of vaccination, but also doing what we can to support our fellow Australians in Victoria. The milestone of 5 million, though, provides us an opportunity to reflect on where we've come from, but also what we have left to do, and to also recognise and thank those across the supply chain who have made that milestone possible and continue to surge as we speak today to support those in need. That includes those producing the vaccines, Pfizer, CSL and AstraZeneca, our distribution partners, DHL and Linfox, our vaccine workforce providers, ISOS, Sonic, HCA and Aspen Medical, the thousands of healthcare professionals across the country who every single day continue to vaccinate those in need and continue to support the COVID response. In addition, our counterparts, both in the Commonwealth and states and territories, that have continued to work together to support the rollout of the vaccine. In terms of operational update, I'll do that in three parts, focusing on the supply of the vaccine, the distribution of the vaccine, and the administration of the vaccine. In terms of supply, last week the Therapeutic Goods Administration cleared 298,350 doses of Pfizer vaccine and 949,300 doses of AstraZeneca vaccine. In the coming days, the Therapeutic Goods Administration will conduct sample testing and batch release of an additional 811,980 doses of Pfizer vaccine, 298,350 of which arrived onshore last night, and another 500,000 expected to arrive onshore on Wednesday evening. They will also conduct sample testing and batch release of approximately 230,000 doses of the onshore CSL manufactured AstraZeneca vaccine. In terms of Victoria, based on what has been provided and what has been administered, there are approximately 320,000 doses of vaccine available in state hubs, and another 325,000 doses of vaccine available across the primary care network in Victoria. In relation to the distribution of the vaccine, last week we distributed more than 920,000 doses of vaccine across the country, along with all the corresponding consumables. There were only two of those deliveries that were unable to be completed on Friday, both of which will be completed, one in Queensland and one in Western Australia today. This week will be our biggest week. 1.1 million doses of vaccine will be distributed to more than 2,500 locations across the country. This will include 71,370 doses of Pfizer vaccine and 41,000 doses of AstraZeneca vaccine to state hubs, and another 280,000 doses of AstraZeneca vaccine to the primary care network across Victoria. In addition, and as the Minister announced yesterday, an additional 100,000 doses of Pfizer vaccine will be made available for Victoria. That will enable the vaccination for first and second doses of 50,000 Victorians and be distributed across 3 weeks, commencing from next week. In terms of administration of the vaccine, last week 832,813 doses of vaccine were administered, our biggest week by far, taking our total now to 5,076,413 doses of vaccine administered. An analysis of this data indicates a significant increase in our weekday average, now 136,000 doses per weekday, which is up 28,000 doses from the previous week. This included 3 successive days of records last week, and last Thursday we had 143,659 doses recorded in a single day. Across the 4,688 sites in the primary care network, they have increased their weekday average by approximately 14,000 per day, and that's predominantly on the back of an increasing and ongoing uptake in the 50 to 69 cohort. And of note, over the last 4 weeks, the weekly average of doses administered to that cohort has gone from 100,000 to 180,000 per week. States and territories now have 746 sites where they are administering vaccines, and they've seen an increase in their weekday average by approximately 13,000 per day. Again, this is predominantly on the back of ongoing uptake in the 40 to 49 cohort. In the last 5 weeks, they've gone from 20,000 to 90,000 doses administered in a week. This week, we've got additional channels opening up as well. This week, there are 13 Commonwealth vaccination centres, which are now administering the Pfizer vaccine, and that will continue to grow across June. We also have 49 pharmacies, which have now opened in Queensland, and again, we expect to see the number of pharmacies increase over the coming months. In terms of our vaccine workforce providers, we continue to focus on those most at risk in our society, those older Australians in residential aged care facilities. And our focus now is on completing the 2,565 residential aged care facilities, and we have 4 of those to go for a first dose visit. We've completed second dose visits on 2,163 of those, or 84% of residential aged care facilities, and we expect to conduct 290 of those this week. Within Victoria itself, of the 596 residential aged care facilities, all have had a first dose visit, and 457 of those have had a second dose visit, with another 107 expected this week. In addition to those formal visits, we're also continuing on with our roving clinics. Those roving clinics will transit to residential aged care facilities who have already had a first dose and offer vaccination to those residents who may not have chosen to have a vaccine in the first round. Wherever there is spare capacity with our workforce providers, we're now pivoting that towards those people with a disability in a residential setting. We've now had 7,777 people with a disability in a residential setting offered at least 1 dose of vaccine, and approximately 2,300 of those are in Victoria. This week, our focus is on implementing the direction from National Cabinet on Friday and ensuring that all newly eligible Australians know how and where to access a vaccine. And again, I'll point you to the eligibility checker at health.gov.au. We've now had more than 8 million visits. Today, though, as we do every single day, our focus is on ensuring the vaccines that we have are available across the country where and when they're most needed to protect more Australians.